Hey everybody, I'm Justin Archer, aka The Posture Guy, your #1 source on pain, posture, and performance. And today I wanted to give a public service announcement aimed towards parents, which if you've already clicked on this and watching this video, you already know the title, which is please stop screwing up your kids' posture. All right. Now, before I get into all the details and things you can do to stop hurting your kids' posture and things you can do to improve it, let me kind of put a little disclaimer out there. I'm not a parent myself. Where this information is coming from is now a little over a decade of being in the health and fitness industry. The majority of which has been being a postural alignment therapist. I've worked with kids from people from 4 to 94. Working with grandparents. They brought their kids in, and even though maybe I haven't had a full session with them, they've kind of asked me, "Hey, Justin, this is kind of causing me some concern that I'm seeing in my granddaughter or grandson. What do you think about it? What are some things I can have them do or tell them their parents they should do?" And over the years, I've kind of noticed some common denominators, if you will, in the development stages of children, and also some of the things that parents are doing, obviously unintentionally, that are causing their kids to have poor posture, which is also cause for concern, because that's going to lead them as they get older and older to have various chronic symptoms and other health problems as well. All right. So first of all, I would say the #1 thing, I'm going to kind of go from younger to older, is a lot of people, especially new parents, and I'd say any parents, when a child goes from an infant stage into kid, to being a kid, a lot of parents encourage their kids to walk. They even hold them upright. Come on, walk, Jimmy or Natalie or whatever the kid's name is, and they'll hold them and try to get them to walk. And it's almost a bragging right among other parents. Well, my kid walked at this age. Well, what I always say to that, and people sometimes ask me, like, yeah, when should kids be walking? And I would say that I see a common denominator of that kids nowadays are being encouraged to walk too soon. So I always tell them, I say, listen, unless child services or some other group like that is around, if the kid even starts to stand up, the day when I have kids, just bam, give them a little tap and knock them back down. Gently, of course. Because you want them down the ground as much as you can. Because what I've seen is kids that are encouraged to walk too soon and don't crawl enough, they don't develop functional and strong enough primary and secondary hip flexors, which those muscles are basically key muscles, main muscle groups for their natural gait pattern, how they walk, but also those muscles come into play with being able to stabilize their body in an upright position. So I would say, kids nowadays are going up not crawling around enough. So you can make it a game, get on the ground and crawl with them. It's a great exercise for adults of any age, really. Now, when they're crawling around, something too that may interfere with their ability to crawl and move and develop the proper motor skills, proprioception, and functional muscles and joints, is that a lot of people, they get the new boy, but I would say almost usually it's when you have a new girl and you want to get them a nice little dress, and you put them in these cutesy little shoes. I know my first pair were a pair of little Nikes. And it looks cute, right? You look at the kid and like, oh, how adorable. And they've got the whole ensemble and everything. Well, the problem with that is if their tiny foot, if you ever watch like a baby crawl, or even a pre-crawl stage, or even if they're on their back just kind of flailing around, you see their toes, spread and contract and spread and contract. And when you see them crawl, you really see how they grip the ground. Here's the ground, grip it with their toes and pull the ground under them to push off and propel themselves forward as they crawl. And so there's all these little muscles. There's a lot of muscles in the foot and all the little joints, how they're interacting in the foot and the ankle and the lower leg that come into play for crawling, and then eventually leading that child to, sitting upright, to, finally standing, and then eventually walking. Well, if you encompass their foot in hard plastic and leather, a hard-soled shoe, they can't grip the ground and they can't move. And I've actually seen children, where literally they'll just cry and cry and cry and cry, and then you take the shoes off them, they stop crying, and they just start, crawling around everywhere. And of course, since a child of that age, an infant, can't speak, they're just crying, basically saying, get these things off me, because they're interfering with my ability to move and crawl. All right. Third is, I think we're number three, is when they're crawling around. I know it's easy for, parents to get concerned, where is the kid, what are they doing, what are they getting into? I definitely think it's worthwhile to invest in child-proofing your house, but if you're a first-time parent, if you're a second or third time, maybe you already have your kid, I'm sorry, not your kid, your house, your home child-proofed, softening up sharp edges, putting child-proof locks on things like that. And if you've done that, then I would say really, it's let them explore. Actually encourage them to explore. And what you can do to do that is, a lot of times you see people, they put kids in a playpen. So that way, you put the kids in the playpen, surrounded by all their toys, their stuffed animals and everything, and then you and the other adults can go and, have adult conversation. The kids will play with each other, or if it's just one kid, can play with all their toys. Well, now everything is right there. They don't have to move much. Maybe they have to bend a little to one side and to the other, and they've got their building blocks and their stuffed animals and things. Well, what I would say is get them out of the playpen and spread their toys out. And I know, maybe a little messy, but it really only takes a few seconds to clean up. But put their toys on purpose far away from each other. So encourage them to crawl or scoot or roll or whatever stage of movement that they're currently in to get to that toy. Even if they're older, like if they're walking, put their toys and things in inconvenient places, so they have to overcome obstacles to get to them, because that's going to force their bodies or encourage their bodies to move in different ways, like I said, to get over things, under things, through things. I'll share with you a quick story that, I think may be an extreme example, but when I saw it, I was like, wow, how amazing. I knew this family back in San Diego, who I believe they were Russian, and just amazing family, very nice. I met them doing some acrobatics, kind of silks, rings, some kind of Cirque du Soleil training. And the whole family, they were a circus family. They didn't, I don't think they did it professionally, but they just loved doing it. And I would actually see the kids in the kitchen climbing up and stuff that most people, I'd say most American families, if the parents saw their kids climbing up on drawers, hanging from stuff, would be just freaking out because they'd be, one, afraid that their kid's going to get hurt, and two, what it's going to do to their furniture and other things. And they actually said, no, we'll actually put their kid's cup or bowl on top of the fridge or other things, because they want their kids to climb up on stuff and over stuff and get their bodies to move around things to better their proprioception and overall body control, to get those items. So again, you don't have to go that far, but again, it could just be putting things on the ground instead of all around your child, moving them to different places. All right. Number 4, I had to write these down so I didn't forget them. I think just playing with your kids more. And obviously that's going to change depending on how old they are. If they're an infant, on the ground and everything. But if they're to that point where they're running around and everything, 5, 6, 7, 8, things like that, and you go into the playground, run, jump, leap, roll, hang, swing, do it all with them and make it into a game and challenge them so they can challenge you, right? So, and kids dig that, and, not only I think it brings kids and their parents closer together, but it just encourages, in that child to keep challenging themselves and to move more and more and more. Now, that said, there's one little caveat point I'll put to that is, a common thing I see that parents love to do with their kids is throw them around and swing them around, swing by the arms and kind of go in circles, and the kids are having fun and everything. And it looks like a great time, but I'll tell you, I've seen too many instances where I've heard of kids dislocating their elbow and or shoulder from being swung around too hard. The reason being is that, kids, they're still at that age developing their muscles, their tendons, their ligaments, their joints and everything. So if you have, an adult who's obviously more muscular, pick a kid up by the arms and swing them around, the kid isn't really dictating the force or the severity of the swing. So I'm not saying don't swing your kids, but let me propose to you a different way to go about it. Have the child hold onto your arms, grip you, and so that way they're engaging their muscles. And then then you can swing the kid around. And that way when they start going, okay, stop, I'm done, maybe they're laughing, they're having a great time, but they're starting to lose their grip, you can stop. That way, it's never going to overload the child's strength. They'll know because they'll start feeling their grip go, their arms getting tired, and they'll go, okay, okay, put me down, put me down, put me down, and you put them down, and everything's okay. But if you're the one swinging them, you can very easily overload the strength of the tendons, the ligaments, the muscles around their elbow and shoulder, and do some serious damage, which I know, no parent wants to, hurt their own kid intentionally or unintentionally. So those are a couple of things, I want you to kind of keep in mind. They're, in no way remains, the only things, but I think it's a good list to start with. Try them out, if you're a parent. And if you know of any others, I'd love to hear them, and I know, other readers, the other posture guys and gals, would love to hear them. So leave them in the comment section below. You can call or email me with them anytime. Love to hear them. And thank you for joining me today inside today's video. I look forward to seeing you inside the next one. Until then, take care and keep moving.